He told me he had nothing left. He hugged me and said, "I'm broke." I held his hand and believed him. A week later, I saw a photo of him smiling on a palm-fringed beach, his arms around a woman I did not know. The caption said, "Winter's trip. New life." I kept breathing. I kept pretending. Behind my smile, I was inventing a plan. What I uncovered would not only burn the house of lies he built, it would hand me a choice that could change everything. Before we dig deep into the story, tell me where you're watching from. I love seeing my amazing audience from all over the world. And please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, turn on your notification bell, like, and share. It really helps the channel. Now, let's begin. I met Mark on a rainy Tuesday. He wore a blue sweater with a threadbare elbow and smelled faintly of coffee and old books. We were both in line at a tiny bakery. He offered me his last napkin when a child spilled juice across my sleeve. We laughed. He bought a cinnamon roll and gave me the last bite. He was kind in small, steady ways. He listened like every sentence I said mattered. When my mother's heart ailment returned, he was at the hospital at dawn with a thermos of tea. When I lost my job, he insisted we save the last of his money for rent and food. We married in the backyard of my small apartment building. It rained again, a thin, stubborn rain like the day we met. My mother sat in the front row, smiling through tears. Mark squeezed my hand, and I believed, in the simple bones of my heart, that we would be enough for each other. Life after marriage knotted into bills, errands, small victories. Mark worked at a delivery company. He was often tired. His hands smelled of fuel and damp cardboard. He said he was saving for a better future, a deposit for a flat, maybe a new washing machine. We ate noodles and talked about the house we would one day have. He promised me small things, a blue kettle, a plan for the windowsill, a weekend by the sea. I took odd jobs tutoring, translating short documents. We balanced our money like tightrope walkers. When my mother needed a procedure, we missed rent to pay for it. Mark joked one night, "When we're rich, we'll laugh at this." I laughed because I wanted to believe. The first lie was small. He said he had been to the city branch to collect his paycheck, but he had been gone 8 hours. He said he had been fixing a truck for a friend. I trusted him. Later, I found a receipt in his jacket. A hotel, 2 nights, a name I didn't know scrawled on the bill. "You forgot this," I said the next day, handing it to him. He smiled and folded it into his palm. "Old thing," he said. "Left it behind. I'll let it pass." The second lie came wrapped in excuses. He said he was late because the delivery schedule had changed. He said overtime would make up for it. At the end of the month, the bank balance he showed me was smaller than the one I saw online when I logged into our joint account. He said the bank must be wrong. I believed him, or I wanted to. We began to argue more. Not about love, but about hunger and hope. "We are a team," I would say. "We can get through." He would nod and kiss my forehead and leave for the night shift. One morning, I found a folded lottery ticket in the back of the glove box of the old car. My hands brushed it as I reached for the insurance papers. The ticket had no number circled. Mark must have bought it and forgotten it. I thought, a faint glow of amusement warming me. "He's dreaming," I told myself. That's okay. 2 days later, the country's biggest lottery announced a winner. The media buzzed with photos of gold confetti and astonished faces. Mark hummed in the kitchen, making tea. There was no celebration at home. But I started seeing little things differently. A credit card receipt for a boutique perfume, a message from a travel agency asking him to confirm details for an email I did not open. The pennies of truth accumulated into a coin jar I could no longer ignore. The truth fell into my hands like a weight. I had to pay my mother's clinic bill, so I logged into our joint account to transfer money. The balance was low. I clicked through transactions to reconcile and then stopped. There, 3 months ago, a deposit labeled lottery payout jackpot. The number was a sideline on the statement, like it didn't intend to start a war. 30 million, the exact sum that matched the countrywide jackpot. My throat closed. I read it again. Then I felt the air leaving the room. I scrolled further. Transfers to a private account, to a lawyer, to a travel agency. A retainer for a villa. A payment to an airline. He had not been trying to save for our future. He had been moving gold coins into a secret chest. I printed the page with shaking hands and sat down on the cold kitchen floor. My legs trembled. Heat and cold swam in my chest. Mark walked in, still damp from rain. "You look pale," he said. "Are you okay?" I held up the printout like a mirror. His smile felt like the first small knife. He said, calmly, "It was just a little luck. I wanted to keep it quiet until I could sort our taxes and make a plan." "Then why the hotel, the perfume, the transfers?" I asked. He shrugged, too casual. "I needed space. I told you I was tired. You know I get anxious when people crowd me." "You moved 30 million to another account," I said. My voice lost its edges. "You lied. You left money out of our joint account and moved it like a thief." His eyes did something I had never seen, a cold, precise calm. "I did what I had to do," he said. "We had debts. We had obligations. You don't understand how messy taxes can be." "Messy?" I laughed, a short, bitter sound. "You left me here to pay the hospital bill yesterday. You told me you had nothing." He looked away. His profile was suddenly foreign. I didn't want to fight. I thought I could handle it on my own. "Handle it how?" I whispered. "Drop out and run to the sun with someone else." He sat down heavily. "I didn't mean to." "Who was she?" The question burst out of me. He was quiet. The answer hung like smoke. "I met someone," he said finally. "It just happened." "You met someone after you won 30 million?" I said. The words were raw now. "You bought perfume and booked hotels and flew away. You left your wife to carry the town's rent and the clinic bills." He put a hand to his face and closed his eyes. When he opened them, there was no apology I could trust. I found the photo while scrolling through his social media. It took only seconds for the world to tilt again. Mark on a sunlit beach, his arm around a woman in a white dress. Her laugh was the kind that wanted to be photographed. Their caption, "Start of a new chapter." The comments were flooded with congratulations. I stared until the pixels staggered. The woman's face was unfamiliar. She was younger and dressed like she belonged to a different life, designer sunglasses, a ring I had never seen. A caption location said Azure Isles. I pulled up the villa receipt. The totals matched. The dates lined up with his days away. I printed those two and stacked them on the kitchen table like a small, damning shrine. In the weeks that followed, I did not speak much. People asked if we were okay. I smiled and said, "We're fine." I learned to breathe in fits. I taught myself how to organize anger into action. I began to watch flight manifests, public posts, tag photos. He was careful, but not careful enough. People show their lives like trails of breadcrumbs. I follow them. I found a lawyer's name on a billing receipt, Kimmy O. She had a reputation for corporate discretion. I called her office, pretending to be a distant relative, to ask about a typical process for claiming a large payout. She spoke in generalities. Then she hesitated. "You can't speak of a private client," she said finally. "I just want to understand my rights," I said, not yet revealing I was his wife. She suggested a meeting. I went. I sat in her polished office and listened. She spoke of trusts, of sudden wealth planning, of confidentiality agreements. She did not know I had the printout with the jackpot deposit that said winner Mark Adarimi in my bag. At night, I wrote a list. What I had, what he had, what I could prove. I bought a cheap recorder. I copied his messages to a folder I called evidence. I told no one. My plan was simple. Expose him, reclaim what we had lost, and decide whether the love that remained deserved a second chance. I would not crumble. I would not beg. He had chosen. I invited him to dinner under the pretense of trying to reconcile. He arrived with a nervous smile and a new shirt. The woman in the photo, whose name I later learned was Vanessa, had liked many of his posts. He tasted the sea and coconut oil. I kept my hand steady. "Sit," I said. We ate in silence for a while, the clink of cutlery loud. Then I placed the printouts on the table. "You lied," I said simply. He looked at the papers and then at me. There was no surprise on his face now, only regret like a calculated shadow. "I thought I was protecting us," he said. "I transferred money so vultures wouldn't take it. I already paid a lot of debt. I want to be ready." "You could have told me," I said. "You could have let me help. We are a team." He reached for my hand, but I pulled away. "You told me you were broke," I said. "You told our families the same story. You told my mother to accept charity. Did you tell them you had the jackpot?" He swallowed. No. Why? The word was small, but the room felt large with pain. He hesitated. Then, because when people know you have money, they become different. I studied his face. The man I loved and the man I did not recognize lived within the same skull. I want the truth, I said. Who is Vanessa? She was someone I met at the hotel, he said. I needed to get away. She was kind. She understood pressure. You ran away with your money, I said. Not only to please people, but to someone else. I didn't mean to hurt you, he said, voice thin as paper. You did, I said, and you did it alone. I had the right to confront him publicly. I had the right to take him to court over hidden assets. I had the right to demand our share and the right to the life we had planned together. But I also had a different right, the right to choose how to be wounded. My wounds did not have to define me. For 2 weeks, I balanced the legal letters and late-night calls from his lawyer. Kimmy called me once, politely, to ask if I had considered mediation. There are taxes and obligations only one person can answer, she said. She was careful. I appreciated that. One afternoon, Mark called and suggested we sell the house and split. He sounded practiced. We both could start over, he said. Maybe that's better. I did not answer then. After the call, I sat on the roof of our building and watched the city breathe. The sun made the rusted metal railings glitter. I felt small and large at the same time. My heart was a weather map with storm fronts and clear skies. A week later, I went into the glove box to find an old pen. Behind a stack of receipts, I found another folded paper, a lottery ticket, the same date as the jackpot. My fingers trembled as I unfolded it. The numbers matched. Mark had not only won, he had kept a second ticket. It had my name scrawled on it in his handwriting. My first reaction was confusion. Then something else rose slow and hot. Hope that burned like a match. Had he left it there as a secret olive branch? A joke? An apology he didn't know how to speak? I took the ticket to the bank. The teller's eyes were kind but trained. We'll need to verify, she said. I watched the machine read the code. Then she printed a small sheet with the emblem of the lottery commission. Claimant name? She asked. I hesitated. Then I wrote my own name. Her eyebrows rose. Are you the registered partner? No, I said. I'm his wife. But the ticket is here. I want to know its status. The paper she printed showed the ticket as unclaimed. The commission had records. The main jackpot had been claimed by Mark and distributed through trust. But this second ticket was an oddity. It matched the winning numbers, but had not been registered. It had my name in shaky ink. My chest felt like something heavy had eased and then tightened again. I drove home with the paper on the passenger seat. I called Mark. He did not pick up. That night, Mark came home late, different, quiet, as if he had been given a smaller cloak of courage and chosen to sit beneath it. I placed the second ticket on the table between us. Why did you write my name? I asked. He stared for a long time. I don't know, he said. I was high on the idea of proving something to myself, to show that good things could come to us. I thought if I wrote your name, it would be like promising you the world, in case I didn't have the courage to say it. You promised me a bank transfer and a ring, I said. But you also promised to be here. His head bowed. I'm sorry, he whispered. I was a coward. I thought the money would solve everything. Instead, it made me run. Then give me the truth, I said. Why did you leave? Why Vanessa? He told me about late nights in the hotel when his phone buzzed with messages of congratulations. He told me how people who had ignored him flooded him with smiles. He told me how he felt invisible before the money and suddenly visible after. He asked me to understand that visibility scared him. I listened, my hands folded in my lap. The second ticket lay between us like a small, fragile treaty. There are moments when all the pieces fall into a new pattern. The second ticket with my name could be evidence. It could be controlled. It could be cruel. It could also be a chance to find out who he really was. I could take him to court and strip him of everything. I could exile him from my life and rise on the embers of betrayal. I could also choose to pick up that ticket and claim whatever it represented. Not money, not revenge, but truth. I called Kemi. What happens if I claim the ticket? I asked. You'd have to show ownership or permission, she said. If the winner is registered as Mark and this ticket is unclaimed, you could contest it. But it's messy. You might show the world more than you want to. It could also be your path to independence. You be the one who decides. For 3 nights, I did not sleep. I walked the city streets and listened to vendors call their wares into the night air. I found myself thinking of small things. The plant that always died in winter, the kettle that sputtered, my mother's laughter when she first walked after the procedure. The ticket was a lever. It could pry open a door. I decided to claim the ticket not out of spite, but because I wanted control over what happened next. If I claimed it, I could use the power to heal, not to wield as a weapon. If I failed, at least I would know I had the courage to try. Kemi guided me through the process. There were forms, affidavits, a hearing in a small office with a board official. I felt the world watching through a keyhole. Mark tried to stop me at first. Then he realized I would not be bribed with apologies. He signed a statement that he had written the ticket and intended it as a gift to me. When the Lottery Commission processed the claim, news outlets circled like birds. Headlines were hungry. People whispered. Friends took sides. I asked that my mother's name not be revealed. I wanted the outcome to be about what we would do, not about the gossip. The commission's letter arrived on a rainy morning. I opened it with shaking hands. The words were careful, legal, yet kind. The ticket, they said, was valid and unclaimed. Ownership would be transferred only after a mandatory cooling period and confirmation that all taxes and obligations were met. I let out the breath I had been holding for months. For the first time in a long while, I felt the smell of possibility. The money, if it became mine, was not simply a fortune. It was a hinge. I used the first few thousand to pay off my mother's debts and to secure a small flat in a calm neighborhood. I insisted we do it quietly. Mark watched, learning each day how small acts of responsibility rebuild trust brick by slow brick. Months passed. People changed their tune. Vanessa disappeared from his posts. He apologized publicly once and in private 100 times. I forgave in stages, like untying knots slowly so the rope didn't snap. The Lottery Commission completed its checks. The ticket's transfer became official. I stood at the window of my new flat and looked out at the city where I had learned to be brave. The phone rang. It was Mark. "Whatever you decide," he said, "I will support you." I made a mistake. "You did," I said. "You also left a second ticket with my name. Maybe it was a mistake that turned into a chance. But I can't be the woman who stays because she needs money. I can be the woman who chooses because she is free." There was a long silence. "Are you saying?" "I'm saying I forgive you, but I won't forget. I'm saying I will use what I have to help my mother, to start a clinic for people who can't afford care, and to make a life that respects me." He was quiet. "I'm proud of you," he said. "I'm sorry I made it hard." I signed the papers for the clinic and for the flat. I bought the blue kettle I had always wanted and planted a green seedling on the windowsill. Everything felt delicate and strong at the same time. The city hummed. Then, one evening, a courier arrived with an envelope stamped from the Lottery Commission. Inside was a single sheet of paper, a notice for a sealed review of the original jackpot claim. It requested that I appear to answer questions about the second ticket and the transfers. My stomach dropped. Who had asked for the review? Had the lawyer for the original claimant found a reason to reopen the case? Was someone else waiting in the wings, a shadow who wanted the money back, or worse, wanted to expose everything I'd fought to build? As I folded the paper, the seedling on my windowsill trembled in the evening breeze. Outside, the city lights blinked like eyes. I realized that the second ticket had solved one problem, but opened another door. I could feel it behind my ribs. The world was not done with my story. I set the envelope down, steadied my breath, and reached for my phone. I called Kemi. "We'll go together," she said, without hesitation. I looked at the ticket on my table, the little scrap of paper that had been a joke, a promise, a weapon, a key. I straightened my shoulders. "Then let's go," I said. And for the first time since I discovered the deposit on that bank statement, I felt the real shape of my life. Not only a story of betrayal and money, but of choice, courage, and the unknown that comes after the storm. Thanks for watching. I truly appreciate every single one of you. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and turn on your notification bell so you won't miss the next story. See you in the next episode.